Friday the 13th horror movies. The hottest girls from the series. Greetings, fiends. Today I'm going to dish out the bare facts about the hottest girls from the Friday the 13th horror film series. Beginning with the 1980 classic film Friday the 13th, directed by Sean Cunningham, Jason has had his share of final girls to contend with, but all eyes were on the sexiest, most promiscuous babes the series had to offer. After all, the name of the game was Horrifying Death After Sex, so in the spirit of shameless nudity and randy romping around Camp Crystal Lake, let's have some fun gazing at these wanton Friday the 13th babes. Please note, beauty is subjective, so if you don't see your favorite Friday the 13th girl in this video, please give her a shout out in the comments. Watching Friday the 13th in 1980. The year is 1980. The place is Los Angeles. A few fiends and I attend an opening weekend Saturday night showing of Friday the 13th in Hollywood. The cinema is packed with a completely mixed audience of black, white, and Latino patrons. And by the 30-minute mark, the place is going nuts. Popcorn and soda is flying in the air, and it's a near riot. At that moment, I knew that Friday the 13th would not only be a huge success, but would spawn at least a few more sequels. Well, folks, it did just that. 10+ movies have rolled out of the Friday the 13th garage, and with them, a buttload of hot babes in and out of dress, and with or without their heads. Friday the 13th, 1980. In the Sean Cunningham film, my personal favorite Friday the 13th babe is Janine Taylor. She has a completely natural beauty and a healthy sex drive that drove her to a rather grisly death. Friday the 13th Part 2, 1981. 5 years after the events of the first film, a summer camp next to the infamous Camp Crystal Lake is preparing to open. And of course, Jason is waiting. Kirsten Baker leads the pack of Camp Crystal hotties in the second installment. With her amazingly tight body and slim but beguiling butt, she loves cavorting around in short shorts and taking late-night skinny dips in the lake. What more do you need in a Friday the 13th hottie? Friday the 13th Part 3, 1982. There are a few hotties in the third film, but for me, Tracy Savage is the standout, in more ways than one. If she's not showing off her sexy bod in a bikini, she's butt naked taking a well-deserved shower after running from Jason all day. Friday the 13th, The Final Chapter, 1984. In this, the not-so-final chapter in the series, Judy Aronson steals the show with her ample, perky breasts and outdoorsy demeanor as witnessed in her lakeside romp. Friday the 13th Part 5, A New Beginning, 1985. As she is known, the big-breasted babe who stole the show in the fifth film, Deborah Voorhees gets my nod for the hottest Friday the 13th girl, with a close runner-up to Juliette Cummins and her hilarious display of tatas. Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives, 1986. The promiscuous little vixen Darcy DeMoss makes the grade in Part 6, riding her way into fame and a certain gruesome death. Friday the 13th Part 7, New Blood, 1988. Elizabeth Catan is hot and willing in the seventh film, and her beguiling breasts make her #1 in my boob book. However, Heidi Kozak is quite nice to watch taking a skinny dip at night before death. Jason X, 2001. Not much to report on the previous 2 Friday the 13th flicks in the way of hot girls. So we quickly make our way to the last installment in the original series, and in my humble Horror Mike opinion, one of the best Friday the 13th films. Not only for several hot babes, but also because it acts as a sort of parody of the previous flicks. And it even has David Cronenberg in it. I mean, come on, man. First off, Lexa Doig, maybe one of the hottest final girls in the entire Friday the 13th series, and she kicks ass to boot. Then we have Christy Angus, our resident blonde bombshell scientist who ultimately gets her frozen face smashed off midway through the flick. Next up, it's the athletic Lisa Ryder as sexy android KM14.
You guys might want to run.
Followed closely by side boob costumed vixen Melissa Ade. And last but certainly not least, and a few of my all-time favorite Friday the 13th hot girls, the Camp Crystal Lake Sluts, aka the VR teen girls from the holodeck. These 2 fine babes, portrayed by Kay Penaflor and Tanya Morrow, are at once sexy as hell and hilarious as they taunt Jason by the lake until he wraps them in their sleeping bags and smacks them to death against a tree.
Want a beer?
Or do you want to smoke some pot?
Or we can have premarital sex.
We love premarital sex!
Friday the 13th, 2009. The 2009 Friday the 13th remake generally sucked, but there were a few hot girls worthy of mention in this video. First up is Willa Ford, getting all wet and wild by the infamous lake. And finally, the even more magnificent tatas of Juliana Gill, who seems to love cavorting around nude, and we love her for it. That's a wrap on Horror Mike's picks for the hottest girls of the Friday the 13th movies. As I said before, if you have a personal favorite, please leave a comment. Thanks for watching.